When Steve Jobs unveiled the original iPad back in 2010, it had an extremely clear reason to exist. It was the perfect hybrid device, combining the best parts of your iPhone and your MacBook. A large display that was still portable enough to take with you, access to iOS apps and games, fast flash storage. It really did seem like the perfect device. But in the past 15 years, both our smartphones and our laptops have changed quite dramatically, and that has really put a lot of pressure on the iPad. Ever since Apple announced that they were not going to be merging iOS and iPadOS,
briefly address this question. No. Of course not.
It's given the iPad a bit of an identity crisis. With Apple refusing to cannibalize sales of the MacBook, the iPad feels artificially limited. So it's no wonder that the new M5 iPad Pro doesn't really change the equation all that much. What the iPad was 15 years ago and what it is now are very different, but I think it's time to start accepting the fact that the iPad might have reached its final form. Is this really as much as we can expect? Well, let's unpack it all, the pros and the cons of the iPad as a product category, right after a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Paperlike and their all-new Paperlike 3 screen protector. Paperlike 3 is redesigned with even more tactile resistance and feedback, making digital notes, sketches, and artwork feel as natural as pen on paper. Their patented nanodot surface technology preserves display clarity while providing the perfect resistance. Plus, their all-new butterfly application system makes applying Paperlike easier than ever. Applying screen protectors on an iPad is a tricky job, but Paperlike 3 has a simple instruction guide which will lead you through the process of cleaning and drying the display with the included helper tool, and it uses a revolutionary double-layer dust removal system with a lower layer that peels away, removing dust and sealing your iPad surface until the exact moment Paperlike is applied. Then just peel the second layer with the helper tool to create a perfect bond with the display. This leads to easy installation with no trapped particles. Paperlike has always been the go-to screen protector for iPad, and now it's even better. So to learn more about Paperlike 3, check out the link in the description below. A big thanks to them for sponsoring, and now let's get back to the video. So let's start back at the beginning. What was the iPad originally? Well, it was this hybrid device, but it was actually targeted at replacing a product category that you probably haven't thought about in years, the netbook.
The problem is, netbooks aren't better at anything.
Tiny, slow Windows laptops with cramped keyboards and itty-bitty trackpads, netbooks were a fad from the late 2000s that didn't have a ton of sticking power. But Steve Jobs saw the opportunity in having an inexpensive, portable, media-centric device that could fill that gap between your phone and your laptop.
It is the best browsing experience you've ever had.
And funny enough, one of the technologies that Apple developed that allowed the iPad to gain so much more popularity than the netbook was Apple Silicon.
We have a chip called A4, which is our most advanced chip we've ever done, that powers the iPad.
That's right, the iPad is technically the start of Apple Silicon. The A4 chip debuted here before it came out in the iPhone 4. So, ironically, netbooks in some ways led to Apple Silicon as we know it today. That's kind of weird to think about. But over its first couple of years, the iPad gained massive popularity. The iPad 2 brought a major redesign with front and rear-facing cameras. The next year, the iPad mini came out. The year after, the iPad Air. The iPad was absolutely booming, and it featured in countless movies and TV shows.
Oh, who's ready for the first day of the rest of their lives?
Happy birthday!
Look at this!
This completely vindicated Steve Jobs' vision. His prediction that people wanted a device that fit between their iPhone and their MacBook was absolutely spot on. And in 2014, iPad sales reached their peak, and they have still never matched that level. So what exactly has happened? Well, as Apple continued to develop the iPad, customers started wanting more from it. Its status as effectively a large-screened iPhone worked great for the first couple of years, but as it became more popular, people wanted to do more with their iPads, and Apple really hasn't figured out how to give them that. Now, the 2018 iPad Pro redesign was a significant rejuvenation of the product lineup. And since this redesign and its subsequent iterations, Apple has found a pretty decent niche for the iPad with college students, illustrators and artists, heck, even doctors who like the iPad mini because it can keep their charts and slip right into their pockets. So there are a lot of people for whom the iPad works really well, but the problem has been, over the past couple of generations, it doesn't feel like Apple is expanding what the iPad could be used for. Their attempts at increasing the iPad's multitasking ability have been met with mixed results, and I personally have even turned off multitasking completely in iPadOS 26. I find it to be confusing, a bit of a mess to set up and deal with. There's too many gestures and layers, and let's be honest, if you're using anything smaller than a 12.9-inch screen, it's a little cramped. And so for that reason, what I do on my iPad Pro right now is really not any different from what I was doing on my iPad mini that I bought back in 2012. I use it basically like a large version of my iPhone. For emails, for the Notes app, watching YouTube, reading the news, online shopping, even scrolling Twitter and TikTok, the iPad offers a little bit more screen real estate as compared to my phone, and it's a bit of a change of scenery. I also have a cellular model, which is nice when I travel. I can download movies and TV shows using streaming apps on here to watch on a plane. And all of those things are great, but every time I use an iPad or buy a new one to review, I always feel bad because I know deep down that I'm not getting the most out of this product. In Geekbench 6, I found the M5 chip significantly outperforming the M4, and especially in the GPU comparison. My goodness, look at the difference in scores between these generations. And the ray-traced 3D Mark Solar Bay benchmark reveals the M5 has significant gains over the M4. And if we broaden things to the Steel Nomad Lite test, you can see how much things have improved since that 2018 model. But when I close out of those benchmarks and start using the iPad, what I find myself doing doesn't require really any of that horsepower. And while I've noticed that my old 2018 iPad Pro is starting to feel a little bit sluggish, anything with an M series chip is really not going to have any issue running iPadOS. So the issue that we had before with the M4 iPad Pro was, yeah, great hardware, but the software means it's not really necessary to upgrade. The same is true this year for the spec-bumped M5. But furthermore, the iPad is being squeezed from all directions by Apple's own products. Keep in mind, back in 2010, your iPhone had a 3.5-inch display and your MacBook had a big spinning hard drive. But now we have 6 to 7-inch displays on our smartphones with apps that are completely optimized to take advantage of that. We have MacBooks with the same processors as the iPad and the same benefits of flash storage, fanless design, and great long battery life. And the squeeze is only going to continue as Apple is now rumored to be introducing a low-cost MacBook that could completely undercut even the iPad Air in terms of pricing. And with touchscreen support potentially coming to the MacBook, well, that could undercut some of the power users that buy the iPad Pro as well. So maybe the reason that the iPad has felt so stagnant is because it's reached its final form. For power users, the Apple Pencil and OLED displays are pretty much perfect as they are. And to the casual user, well, it's an iPad. You can download movies, you can read the news, you can play Sudoku. What more do you want? So for some reason, this year with the M5 iPad Pro, I hit this realization that the iPad is just stuck. It's stagnant. It's not really going anywhere. It works great for those who want it and for those who like it, like myself, but I don't think it has the momentum, and I don't think it's really going to be revolutionized further than what it already is. And maybe that's okay. Maybe there are enough people out there who enjoy the merits of the iPad enough to buy a new one every couple of years when the features stack up and their processor feels a little bit slow and they decide it's time for something new. But I'm curious to know what bucket you fall into. Are you an iPad Pro power user with an Apple Pencil and every accessory? Or are you maybe a little bit more like me, a casual user who just enjoys the form factor? Let me know in the comments down below, as well as what you think about the future of the iPad. Is this it? Is this all the iPad was meant to be? I don't know. Only time will tell. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.